devotionally inclined, they don't understand him and they react to him in aggressive ways and offensive ways. And when we take the devotional service and start to control our mind and senses, it's like almost like we're entering another species of life, and people won't understand us, and they'll, misperceive that we're some kind of crazy, misdirected persons, So when that happens, when people offend us, just because we're being devotees, then we have to deal with that. Prabhupada says a lot of interesting things about that in terms of controlling the mind and senses. He says, if someone has offended you, that's their ignorance. But if you take it as offensive, that's your ignorance. Right?
Yeah.
Somebody has offended you, that's their ignorance. But if you take it as an offense, then that's your ignorance. So no matter what people do to us, how they treat us or neglect us or mistreat us, it's incumbent upon us. Tatedu kampam shishimikshmano, that verse, a devotive experience verse, I deserve a lot worse, And somebody was telling me yesterday that they felt offended by another devotee. And doing such nice service and this devotee is criticizing, and in the conversation we were talking about, well, what does Shastra say about that, What does Shastra say when somebody offends you? I'm sure all of you can, comment on that. But first of all, we don't take it as an offense, and we think that we deserve a lot worse. And actually, no one can hurt us. And they may do something, say something to us, but, the soul, we are the soul, not cut by the sword, burned by the fire, withered by the wind, whizzed by the rain. We are untouched, The only thing that is, when we might think we're being hurt, is the false ego. We're doing the service and we're expecting praise and appreciation, right? Profit, adoration, distinction. We're expecting something. I did this service and now everyone should glorify me, And then if we don't get that, so that really the controlling the mind and senses means to be fixed in the knowledge of what is the actual position, who are we really, and that will protect us from responding inappropriately when people offend us. We have to grapple with that, controlling the mind, because the mind is, it says, one who controls the mind is the best friend. If we fail to control the mind is our worst enemy. Please.
I just wanted to ask you, Prabhu, since you've been distributing books in New York City for almost a year now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Almost a year. So I distribute books all over the country, and I get different responses where I go. But I know New York is definitely the heaviest response to people rejecting you. So Prabhu, in light of what he was saying, I'm sure you have a lot of first-hand experience because you can't get affected here.
Mm-hmm.
You can't let it affect you. So if you was
So yeah, New York's pretty heavy. Pretty heavy. You say the streets of New York are a guru. So we I guess my most topmost tolerance I had to exhibit as today I was distributing prasadam to the local chess players that decorate Union Square Park. And there was one gentleman I went up to give some prasadam to, and for some reason he just became very agitated. He was telling me, he said, "What do you think? You think I'm your dog? Do you think I'm your dog?" Then he started yelling profanity, started going off. Different curses, different language, and then it got to a point where he just,
wow.
right in my face.
Wow.
Oh. I was just standing there with the prasadam, and I actually started to experience some joy in that moment. Because I started to think about the pastime of Jagai Madai. And I was just looking at it, it was almost like surreal, like, is this really happening? You know, what's going on?
I can't believe it.
Yeah, I was like, you know, what's going on? And then I just kind of looked at him, I was kind of almost smiling, I think that made him more angry. And then I just pronounced, and I just walked away. But I felt really good after that. I actually felt really good. And, you know, it just shows that, yeah, just being tolerant. In a situation like that, you know, maybe 2 years ago, maybe I wanted to punch the guy in the face, you know, maybe I wanted to fight him, but, you know, after understanding this process, going through this process, you understand that tolerance is very important. So I just kind of took it, and blessing came with it, with the tolerance.
That's a pretty good one.
Is that why I was getting invited to come to Harinam?
Yeah.
Sleep.
But what about distributing books? Like, cause
Yes.
Oh,
no, I mean like, it's, you know, what I mean is like, cause all day you have to tolerate. 'Cause that's a good example.
yeah,
Don't get me wrong, but I mean like.
at one point you
so
just
what-
become used to it.
you
Like people
get
just like,
tough.
no. You know, it's just like you develop like a thick skin.
No matter what they say, flick it
Yeah.
off. Just, you
Yeah.
Oh, that's just
No, get a job. Yeah, that bothers you maybe like the first month or two. And you've
Wait till you get a real job.
you've heard it so many times that you just develop a filter. You know, it doesn't even go into the ear. You just kind of walk. There's an example that I like to sometimes meditate on when I'm out there. It's like, you know, these like gold miners at the side of a river.
Yeah,
They're looking for little specks of gold.
yeah.
So they just stand there all day and then shifting so much dirt just to find a little bit specks of gold. So sometimes I like to meditate like that, you know. We're out here, we're gonna talk to so many people. Only a couple of people take, you know, that's the goal, you know, we found the goal.
Yeah, Jayaved Maharaj told me this one time. He said, that day I just distributed like 25 books and I was like completely dejected. I went to Maharaj, like, what's going on? And then he told me, you know, don't feel bad. Maybe one of the people you gave the books to is going to be the next Acharya. You know, and that's true. It could happen. And the way I look at it is like every no gets you closer to a yes, right? Especially in New York City, there's like no dearth of people walking towards you. Like every time someone says no, like maybe the next person will say yes, you know. Titiksha.
These people that are offensive, both these incidents that were both mentioned, they actually asked a question. Do you think I'm your dog? And we usually respond, may I answer your question? I don't think you're my dog, I think I'm your servant. You know, what was the other one who asked the question? Why don't you get a real job?
Yeah.
May I try to answer your question? This is our work. You know, this is our service to human society, that we're trying to study the Veda and distribute what it says. And it's beneficial for you. You know, this is our work, to remind you about God and service to God and encourage you. You know, so people actually ask a question, and they don't realize that they've asked a question. So it's usually important. You can't just answer it right away. You usually have to say, would you allow me to answer your question? You know, and then they realize that they've actually left themselves wide open, right? Because that's what it is. Their doubt and our faith. Their poor fund of knowledge and what access we have from the grace of Guru and Krishna to Vedic information. So you have to, sometimes you can just develop a thick skin and just ignore it. One devotee I used to see doing distribution, Sai Baba in Cleveland. He's not Sai Baba, Sai Baba. You know,
I just know the name.
he left his body a while ago. But you know, he used to. I was distributing near him, and there was another devotee there, and he, when somebody would mistreat him or just not answer him or something, he would say jerk like that. You know, he was talking about developing a thick skin, and then the other devotee, he said, no, Prabhu, that you shouldn't. That's not how Prabhupada would respond. You have to consider this is an unfortunate conditioned soul. you know, and when they go, you say, we wish you well, you know, and feel sorry for them. Because they're, you know, if we're not convinced that their sense gratification, gross or subtle, is actually going to bring them suffering in the future, if we're envious of them engaging in verbal or, you know, physical sense gratification, then we're going to respond in a harsh or callous way. But if we understand this person is suffering, and then our appropriate response of compassion and, you know, wishing them well, even if we're reflecting back love, even if to somebody who attacks us, acts hatefully. Right? So these are the reflexes of a devotee, not just a thick skin, but, you know, completely turning it around and taking that to the next stage of actually reaching out to them again. We've had so many experiences like this where, what are you doing? What are you doing? You know, and my first response would be, oh, he doesn't want to talk to me. But then if I stay in the conversation and, sir, would you like me to answer that question? You know, right? It's interesting because you can take it further. And the most amazing thing is that once you've asked permission to speak to them, and they allow you to speak to them, it becomes a real conversation. We were talking about that Harinam, remember the Harinam experience in Philadelphia? I'm an atheist! Right?
Yeah.
You remember?
Yeah, I don't.
We said, well, okay. What do you mean, okay? You're supposed to preach to me. You're supposed to tell me I'm ignorant. You're supposed to tell me I'm stupid. You're supposed to tell me I'm a demon. You're supposed to tell me I'm going to hell, right? So, you know, praying to Krishna in that, there's a conversation going on, and I don't know what to say. Krishna, what do you say? And Krishna gave me a little something. I said, sir, could you explain to me, inquiring submissively from you, what is the highest quality of consciousness that you understand? And then he started telling us about this Rambo movie. And he started going, and I was like, oh my God. You know, and I prayed to Krishna, and then Krishna showed me, okay, I get it. Rambo, he was, if death came, he would accept it. I said, well, I said, that's what, he said, that's it. I said, so that's the highest consciousness? I said, well, actually, we agree with that. For the atheist, I am death, Krishna says, right? For the atheist, he accepts death as the absolute truth. I didn't tell him that. I just told him, we agree with that. Shastra says that in the Bhagavad Gita. I've got to go. He goes, no, what do you mean? Nobody ever told me that I was right. I said, yeah, you're an atheist, and you see death as the ultimate absolute truth. That's an aspect of the absolute truth. What do you mean aspect? Well, like a diamond has different facets. One is reflecting yellow, green, blue, white, and you know, so there are different aspects of the. So you're saying there are other aspects of the absolute truth? I said, and death is one aspect. Krishna says, Mritya Sarva Harashtraham. I am death. Right? When they came into Kamsa's arena, the Gopi saw him as their boyfriend, Mother Jasoda saw him as a child, the Yogi saw him as the absolute truth, and Kamsa saw him as death. They're all looking at Krishna, different aspects of Krishna. So I said, no, he said, well, what you mean you have an aspect? I said, we have an aspect that we appreciate. We know your aspect is genuine. Well, what is that aspect? Oh, you got your aspect. We've got our aspect. You know, you're fine. Let us go. You know, no. What is finally? You know, he was so curious. Well, tell me about these other aspects. You know, I said, okay, I'll give you a book. We have a preaching center over here. I brought him up to the little preaching center. We gave him Bhagavad Gita. We sat down and talked to him for a while. He took prasadam. The lady was with took prasadam. He gave a $20 donation. He gave me a hug and he left. I mean, you know, there are, you know, ways to continue the conversation, even if somebody is offensive, adversarial, because there's a reason why that person met a devotee that day. And even if you can't carry the conversation further, and you do the thick skin thing, they'll be going away and say, who is that guy? What was that? What are they doing out here? And then Krishna in the heart, they asked a question. If we don't answer it, Krishna will, but it's really interesting to see how Krishna empower us to answer them.
Thank you.
too much.
That's
I'm sorry.
awesome.
Thank God that's something I can add to my my belt of my repertoire.
Yeah, be ready. Krishna's training, Krishna's training us to have other arrows in our quiver, you know, like different astras and, you know, what to do in this situation. Because it's a test coming from Krishna, not coming from that person. Some people say, oh, he has a vision. No, this isn't coming from that person, this is coming from Krishna, who's training us to be forgiving and tolerant and humble and loving and act with wisdom, without fear, in a loving way, even to the most ridiculously abusive, insane people. The whole world is full of them. What?
I just wanted to add, I was thinking for people who don't come to Harinam, like, just to get sort of a balance, there are negative, I don't distribute books so much myself, but I know there's negative experiences, but I'm sure they also have plenty of rewarding experiences, and like Harinam is very like joyous atmosphere, chanting and everything. I was just hearing you say how like the Harinam sounds a little bit discouraging to go chapter hearing this thing, so I sort of just want to add a balance.
Yeah, that's right.
It's also
It's totally blissful.
It's so blissful when they treat you abusively. It doesn't bother me.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Because there's so many people would come up and dance and chant.
We had 40 people watching us.
Yesterday,
Yeah,
man,
when,
if you guys see that video, off the
What?
shot.
Kapil Prabhu? What is it?
Kalia.
Kalyan, sorry. He was chanting, there were so many people, 40 people. And that one devotee with the dreadlocks, he looked like a little boy dancing, huh? He was like a young man. Oh, Haribol.
So thank you guys for everything. Gantaraj Shivambhagatam Ki
Yeah.
Jai.
Yeah.